started when I was going for my adventure of clay. He was like, dude, what's taking you so long? I'm like, I'm getting some clay. He's like, dude, why do you need clay? You could buy it for like $5 on Amazon. But I'm like, no. And then I went to go get more clay. And when I finally found the clay, I was like, haha, why buy it for $5 on Amazon and wait for like 3 days for UPS to deliver and only have it be not my package instead of just getting it myself with my already worn out shovel. So I got it. I went all the way back home. I ran as fast as I could, so that was pretty slow. And when I got there, Josh was sitting like, ha 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 ha, and he thought I didn't get clay. But here I go, dumping my shirt full of clay. He's like, oh. And then I pick up the clay. I rub it in his face, because I'm like, ha 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 ha. And he's like, dude, I'm sorry, stop. And I'm like, no. And I keep rubbing the clay in his face. And then the clay, he was like, dude, stop, you're getting the clay dirty. I'm like, it's okay, I'll wash it. And then I stopped rubbing his face with clay, while also rubbing his face with clay in my left hand, while washing the other clay that was full of germs, bacteria, and a bunch of blackheads that rubbed off from his face. And then it was kind of an ongoing thing. I just switched hands, on and off, on and off, on and off, wash, 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 rinse, repeat. Kind of a technique there. And then he was like, no, and I'm like, oh. He's like, yeah, and I'm like, no, and then I rubbed more clay in his face. And from that point on, he had nightmares about Clayface, which was me, but clay. So I rubbed clay in his face at night, in morning, maybe even on some occasions when he went to Hawaii. And when he got to Hawaii, I used the entire bottom of his surfboard as clay, and the entire bottom of his surfboard was clay. That meant he couldn't surf too well. He was like, wow, what is going on with my board surf? And then I'm like, why don't you look under? And he's like, oh no. And I'm like, oh yes, you cannot handle the power of the clay side. He turned it over and found, what did he find? It wasn't sand, it was clay. But not only that, a shark was eating him the very moment, but he was more upset at the clay than his loss.